Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day 13 of the 13 days of Halloween. And how are you? It's Friday the 14th, which is not at all a scary date, but here we are. So I am super excited and glad that you're here. I'm being told by Facebook that my connection is weak. I've been told that for years about my connection to reality. So, anyway, okay, kids. So, I don't want to change things up a little bit here. So I thought I'd be a floating head. So here we are. First thing is, I want to talk about. Of course, I put in the description that the clowns need to be sent out. Send out the clowns. And I read earlier today on the interwebs that there is a rumor that started on social media that clowns are preparing what is called a look at those creepy air quotes. Clowns, these crazy, scary clowns, are preparing something called a purge, and instead of it being on Halloween night, it's going to be on the 30th, which would be a Saturday night, and that they are going to go out and kill people. Basically, is what I've heard. This, of course, was quickly dismissed by people like law enforcement. They found the guy that was a teenager who started it on the interwebs and started the rumor. So here's the thing about all of this clown stuff. A lot of people are saying, they want to be extra cautious. They may not go trick-or-treating in a neighborhood. Certainly, you got to do whatever you think is right. I mean, there are many alternatives to going trick-or-treating in a neighborhood. You can go, I know our local mall has a trick-or-treat set up on Halloween night, and you can go trick-or-treat. Masks aren't allowed, so what's the point? At least to me, mind you. So that's an option. You also have the option of going to perhaps a church. I know some football games, like if there's a football game the Friday before Halloween, they'll do a trick-or-treat maybe in the parking lot before the game or at halftime. So there are a lot of options. If you don't want to go trick-or-treating, that's your prerogative, and certainly I respect that. You've got to do what you feel is best to keep your family safe. However, I don't think that Halloween night is going to be dangerous any more than it usually is because of this clown thing. And the reason I don't think that is because the police are all over this. It's been around now since, May that these appearances have been happening, and there's a zero tolerance, right? So I really don't think that you have to worry about going trick-or-treating on Halloween night, nor do I think that the first, or the night before, that Saturday night, the 30th, nor do I think that you have to be any more cautious than you already are, because I've read online, be sure you lock your doors and don't go outside at night. Well, I'm pretty sure we usually don't do that anyway, right? So, but I just don't imagine that there's going to be this clown purge. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. And I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm right. But it's just one of these things that's it's kind of built to a crescendo. Articles that I've read about it have said, by psychiatrists and other folks who've been analyzing this phenomenon, say that it is only going to get worse before it gets better, and that doesn't mean people are going to necessarily be killed. It just means that it's going to get to a fever pitch of worry and likely stupidity, as we've seen. Putting these threats on social media is stupid. So anyway, I would not worry about that, but that was in the news, and I wanted to go ahead and mention that, because I'm tired of this clown thing, and I love creepy clowns just as much as anybody else. The Pennywise character from Stephen King's It, the clown doll and Poltergeist. There are many more, I'm sure, but I think we just need to, it's starting to ruin things for everybody else. Fun for everybody else, and that I don't like, especially when it's ruining Halloween fun for kids. I think it should be a great, safe time for kids to let their imaginations run wild and have fun and get candy and be kids, man, because that's what it's about. The other news that I read today, Halloween related, get this: University of Florida is actually setting up counseling. I don't know if they're going to be sessions per se, or if they're going to be in, I guess, in common areas, booths. I'm kind of thinking of Lucy in the Peanuts, 5 cents a session. But the University of Florida is actually setting up counseling for people who are offended by Halloween costumes this year. So not scared, right? Like, oh no, I saw a creepy clown and I'm really creeped out. Can you counsel me? If you're offended by a Halloween costume. And so this apparently has to do, I'm sure you saw the whole thing with the white guys wearing white power t-shirts as a costume or something. I read a little bit of it, and I'm just so sick of reading about all these idiots doing things like that, and then other people overreacting. And I think that's what this is. Are we really at that stage where we have to have, if we're offended, we need counseling to be set up for us? Go get counseling. I just think it's a little much. But that was in the news today, so I think probably that's a little more dangerous, perhaps, than the clowns, is that somebody very well said in some of the comments today, what if Halloween eventually gets canceled because people are too offended? And that would, man, what a shame would that be, right? I know not everybody's a big fan of Halloween like I am, but I still think that would suck that, there are people who ruin the fun for everybody else. So anyway, just want to talk about those news items on this 13th day of the 31 days of Halloween. Man, I am so charged. I just, it could be the Diet Mountain Dew I had earlier, but I love Halloween season. I really do. And I wouldn't be doing a video like this if I didn't, right? So anyway, I wanted to talk about those things. I also wanted to show you guys this jack-o'-lantern. You saw it at the dramatic beginning of this video, and by saw it, I mean probably one person may have seen it. I see that Michael commented on it. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. This is you may not be able to tell in this lighting, but this is actually an artificial pumpkin that I got at Michael's. And I have had these for years, and I wanted to finally carve one, and I did it tonight. And you carve it the same way you would a real pumpkin, with a pattern. You wet the paper, put it over the pumpkin, and then you carve it out. I made a few mistakes because it's the first time I've really ever used a pattern before. And then I even carved the top here, so you can see there's a top there, and I put in one of these tea light candle LED deals. This is not going to rot. I'm sure in 1,000 years, perhaps it'll be in a landfill, maybe then, but no time soon will you have to worry about it rotting and staying in your front porch and starting to look like some kind of Swamp Thing creature, which would be cool. But so I think it's a neat thing, and it's not a fire hazard. And for people who are prone to maybe danger with fire, Roy Petafis, I'm sorry, I've got a little October hay fever. Then you might want to use something like this. That's just a suggestion, but I really think it's cool, man. So this is, again, an artificial pumpkin, and you can buy those carving kits, and they have the papers inside. Take them out, wet them, put it on the front of the pumpkin, carve a few of those. And the other great thing is we have a couple of jack-o'-lanterns outside that are plastic, and you got to plug those in. And this just uses a battery-powered light, so you can put it in more places without having to be beholden to the wire, the extension, well, the power cord, as it were. So anyway, also, I'm sorry I'm rambling. I just decided I would jump right in and do this this live video tonight for the 13th day. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is the other night on, I don't remember what installment, because I've been doing, this is the 13th of these, I mentioned that there was a story about a missing girl who went missing in 2009, Kayla Berg, and that a video had surfaced on YouTube, which police in Wisconsin, where the disappearance happened, believed might have been associated with her disappearance, and it portrayed this kind of weird, creepy-looking guy, and then a girl bound and gagged in a basement. That video has been proven to be false by the police there in Wisconsin who are investigating. They say that both the man in the video and the woman in the video are in fact actors, and were making a video just to, from what I understand, they actually thought the video had been posted in 2009 and then just resurfaced recently, but from what I'm understanding now, they had somehow, and I guess it's possible, I don't know if I misread this, you can fake the date on your YouTube video posting. So they made it appear that it came out 6 months after the disappearance of this girl, when in fact it was recent. And if that's the case, really poor taste. Really? You're going to do that? But you have people out there. So very effective. I mean, this girl's acting, I thought. I was taken in. I told you last night or the few nights back that I thought it was real, but apparently it wasn't. So Kayla Berg sadly still missing, and this has kind of worsened, I think, the wounds for her family. So anyway, good news in that wasn't real, and that wasn't a real person being held there. So that's it. That's all I got for you, kids. I am going to go back to watching Fear Fest 2016. I mentioned that last night. Also, really quickly want to just mention my good friends Michael and Al mentioned something on YouTube to me about the classic horror movies. Where can you find those this Halloween season? Because they're not on television on your usual cable channels. Sadly, they're no longer on AMC. Fear Fest does not feature the Universal movies anymore. You also don't find the Hammer horror versions of them, which would be the British ones with Christopher Lee as Dracula. You can find those on Amazon Prime, or I mean, you can certainly rent them from Amazon. They seem to be exclusive to Amazon. They're not on Netflix. They're not on Hulu. I don't know why that is. Even the DVD and Blu-ray sets are hard to come by in the States, and I do believe that in the UK they're probably a lot more accessible, which makes sense because they were made there. So, but those, I mean, to me, those are some of my favorite horror movies of all time. Christopher Lee, Dracula, Peter Cushing as Van Helsing, great stuff. It was in beautiful color, very attractive ladies, I don't mind saying, in those movies, usually getting turned into vampire brides and all that. So check those out on Amazon. You'll have to rent them, $2.99 to $3.99 usually, but at least they're available. I mean, it could be that they aren't available to us here in the States, so it's something. So check those out. Hammer Horror, Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy. They also went on to do other ones, not necessarily related to the Universal monsters, but they of course, all that's in the public domain. Hey kids, thanks so much for watching tonight's installment of the 13 Days of Halloween, and we roll on tomorrow. And hey, if you have any ideas what you'd like to see here on the 31 Days of Halloween, let me know. We got plenty of time left. Still a little more than halfway to go, so let me know what you'd like me to talk about or see on here. Appreciate it. You guys have a great night, and good evening.